It's time for another rant about The Ultimate Fighter Season 31, and today we're going to be talking about the prospects that are on that show on Team McGregor. Prospects, which I'm going to put in quotation marks because they are anything but that. They are terrible, and Conor McGregor is down 0-4 against Michael Chandler and just might get absolutely swept by Michael Chandler's team of veterans at lightweight and bantamweight. And this is really, really annoying to me because the best thing about this sport at times is seeing the new generation rise to the top. That's the best thing about this sport. You see the new generation come up, and it's the age-old matchup of the older veteran in the UFC versus the up-and-comer, and hopefully, to keep a healthy sport, the up-and-comer wins and proves that he's better, and then we get an evolving sport. But on The Ultimate Fighter Season 31, I've never felt more like the sport is regressing, okay? Because when I'm looking at some of these prospects, and I want to do the quotation marks every single time, I'm seeing no talent in any of them whatsoever, and I'm also ashamed in the UFC, and maybe this is just a problem in general, where maybe the UFC aren't doing a good job of scouting people anymore. Maybe this is all the US has in terms of talent right now, which is absolutely terrible for the US. They need to up their game if that's the case, and maybe that's the problem, that they're just looking in the US and not looking around the world to actually find the best fighters to put on The Ultimate Fighter. Or maybe the genuinely good fighters that know they're going to get to the UFC anyway are like, why would I ever be on The Ultimate Fighter? And maybe this season is going to indicate the end of The Ultimate Fighter in general. But today I want to focus on this whole prospect versus veteran situation that we've got going on right now. So we've got a bunch of fighters on The Ultimate Fighter this season. We've got Hunter Azure, Timo Valiev, Brad Katona, Mando Gutierrez, Trevor Wells, Carlos Vera, Rico Disciolo, Cody Gibson. Those are the bantamweight fighters. Gibson, Katona, Valiev, and Azure are the veterans of the bantamweight roster on The Ultimate Fighter right now. Now, something to note about all of these fighters that are the veterans is, other than a few of them, there's others like Valiev and Azure who genuinely still are UFC level. So they're being marketed as these like fighters that couldn't make it in the UFC. These guys have been cut from the UFC because they weren't quite ready for it, and then they weren't quite good enough, and now they're taking on these up-and-coming monsters that are on The Ultimate Fighter against them on Team Prospect. I don't like that whatsoever because it's just not true. Valiev is genuinely UFC level. He lost a split decision to Jack Shaw that he arguably could have won, by the way, as well, because the first two rounds were very close. He lost a split decision to Jack Shaw and then got cut by the UFC. Hunter Azure, I'm pretty sure, lost a split decision to Jack Shaw as well and then got cut by the UFC. So it's like these guys could still be around. They kept Sam Alvey around for like 8 losses in a row. These guys dare to not go on a free fight win streak and dare to go 2-1-1, and they're cut from the UFC. It's an absolute joke, but these guys are on The Ultimate Fighter. The problem I have, though, is with some of these prospects. And that's what I want to get into in today's video. We're going to start with the bantamweights, and I'm going to move on to the lightweights in a little bit afterwards. So we have bantamweights like Mando Gutierrez, okay? He's the guy who lost by flying knee on the show, okay? He lost by flying knee. It wasn't a great performance from him. He got caught really badly and put away, I believe, by Cody Gibson. This guy literally just lost to Raul Rosas Jr. on the Contender Series. Raul Rosas Jr. kind of just got exposed by Christian Rodriguez in his last fight. Why is this guy, after just losing on the Contender Series and then going on a 1-fight win streak against a 7-4 opponent, why is this guy on the Ultimate Fighter? This is not the pinnacle of talent in the US, but that's just Mando Gutierrez. Whatever, he didn't look too terrible in all honesty, but whatever, we move on to another guy, Trevor Wells. This guy is 8-3, okay? That is not a formidable... Where's the undefeated up-and-comers? I'll get to some of the good prospects at the end of this video. Prospects is a really annoying word to say, by the way, because I've been struggling to make this video for a while now. Either way, Trevor Wells is genuinely 8-3. Where's the 7-0 up-and-comer? Oh, wait, he doesn't want to go on Tough because why would he? It's a stupid show. Why would he go in a house and risk having to weight cut over and over and over again and win 3 or 4 fights in a row to get into the UFC when he could win 1 fight on the Contender Series and get straight into the UFC there and then? Why would he do that? It would be a foolish move. So I feel like the UFC has put themselves in a situation where now they have the Contender Series, they've ruined the Ultimate Fighter for themselves because they've beaten themselves in their own market, if you know what I'm saying. So they've killed the Ultimate Fighter potential for the potential of the Contender Series. And I love the Contender Series. But 8-3 Trevor Wells, I was watching his stand-up against Timo Valiev. And Valiev has good stand-up, don't get me wrong. And I was surprised by Wells' grappling. He had a decent grappling base. And he was able to stay calm and stay safe against Timo Valiev. And maybe if there was a 3rd round, maybe he could have gone on to win that fight. But his stand-up looked absolutely terrible in that fight. Terrible. Was unsure of himself, didn't really know what he wanted to do in there, was kind of second guessing every punch that he was going for, and he's coming off a win. Listen to this. This is how he got onto the Ultimate Fighter, this Trevor Wells guy, who is 27, so young. We'll get to the others in a second, though. He's 27. He got onto the Ultimate Fighter by beating 8-6 David Duran by split decision. Beat an opponent by 8-6 split decision, you're the next up-and-coming monster. By the way, a few fights before that, he went to a split decision again against an 8-7 opponent. Now, if I'm the UFC employees scouting talent for the Ultimate Fighter, and I see a guy's on a 4-fight win streak, but 2 of those wins are against an 8-7 and an 8-6 opponent, I'm saying, oh, sorry, never mind, you're not ready for the UFC yet. But apparently he is, and he's ready for Timo Valiev, who's genuinely probably top 20 level in the UFC. But we move on to someone else. This is the guy that is going to be fighting next weekend. His name is Carlos Vera, okay? He's a fighter out of Ecuador. He's got a record of 12-3, and he's on a 4-fight win streak, and he last beat an 8-1 opponent. And before that, he beat a 5-1 opponent. So I know what you're going to be saying. What you're talking about, this guy's clearly a good prospect. And maybe he is. He's 35 years of age. He is 35 years of age. He's going to be 36 in November. If this guy wins the Ultimate Fighter, by the time this guy makes his debut, he'll be nearing 36 years of age. And he'll have only just got into the UFC. Are you serious? UFC. This is the best you can find for the Ultimate Fighter. This show's gonna die. I need to make another video on this next week saying why this show is absolutely dead after this season. They ain't got nothing. They've got nothing for this. They've got nothing for this show. No talent whatsoever. He's 35 years of age. Prospect, he's older than most of the veterans. I think Roosevelt Roberts is like 30. You know what I mean? He's still I think he might be 29. He's younger than a lot of these upcoming monsters and prospects on the regional scene. Let PFL have Carlos Vera. He's 35. Why are you bringing him on the Ultimate Fighter? We move on to another guy that's a prospect on the show. Rico Disciulo is his name. He's on a 2-fight win streak after losing on the Contender Series in 2018 to Montel Jackson. Get that. He's fought twice since 2018. Twice. Only twice since 2018. And he fought in that time a 1-14 opponent, and a 7-3 opponent. And that 7-3 opponent was stopped due to a cut. Doctor stoppage due to a cut. He's 36 years of age on a 2-fight winning streak since 2018. 36 years of age. Just cancel the show. Just cancel the show. If you don't have the talent, don't do the show. You have no problem booking up all those Contender Series matchups. You'll have 5 fights a week for that. 10 fighters every week on the Contender Series, all talented contenders coming up. But the Ultimate Fighter's getting this? I think McGregor should have done his research, don't get me wrong. But at the same time, what can you expect? McGregor sees the word prospect and he thinks, these are the up-and-coming monsters. I'll take these guys. You're 50? You know what I mean? Like, he's been bamboozled here. He didn't realize that all of these prospects are 70 years of age. And I'm seeing comments on ESPN MMA and UFC saying, what kind of coach who doesn't show up during his fighter's weigh-in, doesn't enter the cage and be supported with his team? I feel sorry for Conor's fighters. Big reason for their 3 losses is Conor's arrogance and less real support. Hats off to Chandler, who showed how good-hearted and humble of a coach he is. None of them have talent. And this is the most annoying thing to see on social media. The prospects are terrible. It doesn't matter if McGregor was at weigh-in. It doesn't matter if McGregor was in the cage after they lost to be nice to them. It doesn't matter what McGregor teaches these fighters. Nothing will change the fact that they are going to lose. They aren't good. And they're fighting Timur Valiev, who is still top 20 level in the UFC bantamweight division. And he's getting, who's Valiev going to get next? Is he going to get that 36-year-old in round 2 to see if he can beat him? How are the prospects older than the veterans? And we move on to other ones, and these are the ones in the lightweight division. Nate Jenneman is a guy who just looked absolutely terrible. He's a grappler. I get it. But his striking in his fight was absolutely terrible. It was the worst thing I've seen in a very long time. And why did they sign him? He beat a few good opponents back to back. He beat 3 in a row. 3 in a row. He has a record of 16-5. He's 30 years of age. He's already lost on the Ultimate Fighter, so there's no point complaining about this guy anymore. But is this seriously the pinnacle of talent that you can find? Aaron McKenzie, another guy who lost on the Ultimate Fighter recently. He lost on episode 3, I believe. He was coming off a split decision win, but he did have a few good wins. He beat Joe Giannetti. He beat Brandon Phillips 8-3. He beat Lucas Clay 8-1. He has beat some decent opponents, but he's 34 years of age. Why is he coming on the show as an up-and-comer? He's done with his career already. The only chance at hope on Conor McGregor's team of prospects is Lee Hammond, the guy that McGregor brought in himself that trains with McGregor, SBG, Lee Hammond, and Landon Quinones. These are the only guys that McGregor has on his team that have any chance at beating any of those veterans. Any of them. And it just so happens they've been matched up against some of the worst veterans. They'll probably get like Kurt Hollabar and another one of the worst bantamweight contenders that there are. But I think one of them's going to get put up against Brad Katona, so I don't even know. Brad Katona's won tough before. He's already won a show against a more talent-stacked division at the time as well. He beat Bryce Mitchell, I believe. So Lee Hammond is the only chance, who has an amateur record of 15-5, which is a good amateur record to have 20 fights of experience. And he fought some great opponents during that as well. Split decision to a 12-0 amateur, Antonio Martin. 6-2, Yusupov. He went to a split decision with him. Beat a 12-3 amateur opponent. Beat a 7-1 Shinchenko. Beat a 5-1 Sadashjarovi. Like, he's fought some good amateur opponents and was in the amateur scene from 2015 to 2019, fighting very often. 5-0 as a pro. Beat a 6-0 Sufiev by decision, which is a great win for him to have. He has a 4-0 win in his debut. He's genuinely actually good. So maybe he'll be something. Maybe Landon Quinones will be something. You know what I mean? He's also 27. Lee Hammond is 27 as well. They're both the same age. They're both young. This guy's on a 5-fight win streak. Just beat 2 9-3 opponents back-to-back. A 4-1 opponent before that. And before that, a 4-0 opponent. And he's only lost to Naimov by split decision, who was 2-0 at the time. And is now 9-2. And in the UFC coming off a win, by the way, against Jamie Mullarkey very recently. He went to a split decision with him. These are the only two that have any hope for Team McGregor to win tough. I just needed to vent that. I needed to vent. The show's dead. I'll make a video once the season is over. This is the last season of The Ultimate Fighter. I don't buy they're doing this again. This is the talent they can find. Oh, who's the best guy on the scene right now? Oh, we got a 35-year-old coming off a split decision win against an 8-7 opponent. Oh, bring him in. What a great prospect. No, they're barely scavenging for a show at this point, because I think maybe the McGregor Chandler season made it different where people actually wanted to be on the show. But I genuinely think real prospects that actually care about their career, that are actually good, that are actually on a 7-fight win streak, undefeated, 7-0, they don't want to be on tough. It's a shit show. Why would they want to be on tough? Oh, fight all these random guys, anything could go wrong. You're in a house getting drunk, a bunch of people around. You're not going to get any sleep between your fights anyway. You're not going to have your training team. You're going to be trained by a fighter instead of the people that have brought you 7-0 so far. Let's train with random people in a random house, no contact with anyone for however many weeks, and you've got to fight like 3 times in 2 months and make weight every time in your division. Why would any logical contender coming up in the regional scene want to be on this show? Genuinely ask yourself that. Why? They don't want to be on the show because it's a terrible show. And the UFC have ruined this show by making the Contender Series so good. They've entered a market against themselves and they've destroyed themselves in the process. That's what they've done. See you later. Goodbye. So I keep seeing these comments about like McGregor should show up and be there for his fighters a bit more. Maybe they'd win if he did that. These guys can't throw punches so far. Let's see if the other two can. Lee Hammond, you're up. What you got? Hopefully he's good. We'll see. See you later. Goodbye.